Hey, I'm Mac. Welcome back to my channel. So, I recently found, well, it wasn't recently, it was maybe a month ago or so. I found one of the most disgusting recordings of a Beachbody Zoom call, like a team Zoom call, I've ever seen. And it's not totally surprising because Beachbody kind of tends to be one of the most toxic, just disgusting, manipulative, brazenly manipulative ones out there. And I've been kind of sitting on this one for a while because I just wasn't sure if I should do it or not because it's kind of beyond the pale. But then I figured that's probably why you should show it, because people should see how just awful this is. It could be a little bit upsetting. There's some discussion of complications with birth of a child and just some genetic disorders and stuff like that happen early in life, but it's important to the context of it. So I'm going to try to keep this intro short. Let's go through it because it's a long call. So grab a snack, get something to drink. I don't drink, but I've got my Coke Zero here. So this is a husband and wife duo, I think. I'm pretty sure they're husband and wife. Leading the call. They're the team leaders and the rest of the people are their downline. And then they have a guest speaker coming in from, I guess she's from a different team or something, a different downline. And first of all, the husband is, you'll see, he's just very manipulative and very slimy. His initial statements were what prompted me to immediately decide, like, I've got to share this call. Because I was just like, holy cow. Oh, that's gross. But then the guest speaker at first is kind of inspirational or like motivational, but then you realize kind of the context that we're in and what she's actually saying. And at first I was like, oh, she doesn't mean that. Oh, that's nice or whatever. But then it's like, oh my God, that's really what she means. Holy shit. And then they start off the call by doing some recognition and shout outs. So I am going to skip ahead of that, but then we're going to go right into it. And I'm going to try to interrupt not too much because then it'll get really, really, really long and I might end up kind of making the same points. But I do think it's important for me to not chop anything out of it. So here we go with the video.
I will say with the Diamond Surge, you guys, you can, it's, even though it started today, you can join at any time over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You just have to qualify. So once you get 4 active coaches and you've hit Success Club in May or this month in June, you get to come in the group. So whether it's tomorrow, a week, 2 weeks, get in that group, guys. Like, honestly, it's going to be worth it. Okay. And just before we get this, Sarah's hopping on a call. She's like, didn't you ask me to come speak? And we're here. This happens a lot, Sarah. We tend to ramble on at the start, but it's really important for us to recognize people. I just want to say one thing. Because Kim, you haven't been recognized for 15-star individually. So, I mean, unbelievable. And guys, you guys all know what, like, when I looked in the back office in January 29th of this year, so 6 months ago or whatever that is, Kim was a 1-star diamond. Her official ranking was a 1-star diamond coach. And I'm not saying this egotistically, but you guys all put Kim on a pedestal, as you should. But she was a 1-star diamond coach in January 29th. And I just hope you look at that and find some sort of, relation to what she just did in the matter of 6 months, is to go from 1-star to a superstar diamond coach, is kind of ridiculous, and it's funny. I had someone ask me, they're like, how did Kim and I do what we just did? Like, how did we make history? And it's really, for me, it's really simple. And I touched on this in the Surge to Diamond group. It's really simple for me. And I hope what I'm about to say will like kind of register with you. It's like, how did you and Kim do this? It's really simple, because it was really important to us. This business from day one was really important to me. I made it a priority in my life. My kids still got fed, don't worry. My wife still knew I loved her. I still went to my job, got my bonuses at my job, still sold a lot of pet food at my job. It was all taken care of. But I made the business a priority from day one for 5 straight years. And that's how we did it. It's really, really important to me. Is it important to you? Do you respect this business? Do you understand this business? Because that's part of respecting it. If you don't respect this business, you don't really want to learn about it, and you won't learn about it. And that'll affect your decisions, how you talk to people, your tonality. And this is stuff I touched on in the Surge group today, but it's really important you understand that. After the call I did for them today in that group, I wanted to touch on this. How important is this to you? And if it's not, that's okay. But if you're...
Number one, do you respect this business? What the fuck? See, you don't respect this business. First part of respecting this business. What? Alright. Relax. And also, you're gonna hear a lot of this. If it's not important to you, that's fine. From everybody who speaks today, you're gonna hear a lot of it. You're gonna hear a lot of, and if it's not important to you, then it's fine. It's such a manipulative little phrase.
If you want to know the secret and why people do incredible things in this business, that's the secret. It's really important to them. So they make it a priority. And when something's super important to you and you put internal consequences on something, the actions just follow. Your actions of what you have to do, they just follow that path, because you're placing this extreme urgency and importance on the goal. And I think for Kim and I from day one, that's what we've always done. That's just it. It's just really important to us. So you have to find that within you. How important is this for you? And the answer doesn't have to be super important. It doesn't, because you're your own individual. You deem what's important in your life. But if you want to know the secret to success, that's really what it is. And people who accomplish huge things in this business, they just kind of elevate this to a place in their life that takes a lot of them. It's important to them, and it takes a priority in their life. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it takes a priority in their life. But the payoff's insane. The payoff's unbelievable. And I'm not talking about like payoff income wise. I'm just like everything that comes with.
Then what are you talking about? Like what? Because you love being like a manipulative jerk on Zoom calls to a downline that you scammed into a business? What payoff? Like what? Like please. Nobody does a business because they don't want income.
With it. But that's the hard part with human nature, is we tend to want to stay comfortable. We don't want to do the hard things because our environment, we're designed to be comfortable. Thermostat, hot, cold, we're designed to be really comfortable. So it goes against the grain of your human nature to get uncomfortable and do things that are outside of that. So that's how we did this.
Sometimes discomfort is your human nature telling you that something is a bad idea. And a lot of the time, it's right.
And if you want big things, make this important for yourself. Make this really important in your life. And that's when the actions start to follow. Man, Sarah, thank you for your patience. We're 16 minutes in and you're like, I'm ready to speak. So I'm going to let Sarah tell her story and a bit more about that, because it's incredible. And when I heard about Sarah's story, I didn't talk to Sarah about it. I heard her story from someone else. And I'm like, I need to have Sarah on our team call. And then I reached out to Sarah. She's like, I'd love to do a team call for you guys. It's one of the things about this network I love is everyone gives back. Sarah's been a coach for 3 years, 36 months in Success Club. She's also a 1-star diamond in her second CBC already, but she's a 5-star diamond elite coach. I don't know if you're in 6-star qual. I can't remember if you told me that, but she's already qualified and locked in elite for this year, which is massive. And I think what strikes me the most about Sarah is just her story. And like, if you in your head have any reasons about why you can't achieve success, I feel like Sarah's sort of the excuse killer. Like, she's going to just wipe out everything you've ever told of yourself about why you can't do this business. She's kind of going to be like, whoop.
This is really important here. So let's remember when we get into Sarah and her story that this upline here, this guy, has chosen this Sarah woman to be the speaker in order to show his downline why they don't have any quote unquote excuses. Okay, so let's keep that in context because it kind of changes the whole tone of it.
It's possible. It's possible. So Sarah, welcome to our call. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I feel like I was listening to you talk and I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's like I'm listening to a training from you guys. Cause I'll be honest, 3 years ago when I started, I literally think the diamond bet that I went diamond in 3 years ago, I think you and Kim were like doing, it's like some sort of dynasty diamond push or something. It's just a little bit crazy. So huge honor. So thank you for having me and just allowing me this opportunity. I was going to ask, do you mind if we do share, like if I can share my screen?
Yeah, of course. I think you could just go ahead and do it, right?
This is a really annoying section, so we're just gonna skip over their tech ineptitude.
Okay, so I am Sarah England. I have been a coach for 3 years. Like Jamie said, coaching came into my, so I should say I have 3 kids. I have a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old son who has special needs, Sam. But coaching came into my life. I am somebody who has a nurse and stay-at-home mom. And I really struggled with the 1 to 2 transition. I had some complications from my C-section that kind of left me just like, for all there's medical professionals, my C-section incision opened up. I couldn't go upstairs. We had a 2-story house. It was like a whole thing. And my husband had to take extended time off from work. And I feel like on top of the struggle with the 1 to 2 transition and just not feeling like myself, I just found myself in like this blah area. And I was like not feeling like me at all and really struggling with like, okay, I'm a mom. This is what I've always wanted. But I had such guilt for still feeling like unfulfilled in this. And so one night I was nursing my son and I found this, my coach was running a free, back then BOD was free for 30 days. It was like T25 for 25 days. And I was like, oh my God, I love Shaun T. I'd occasionally tried to do Insanity way back in the day. Never ever finished it because commitment problems with fitness programs until being a coach. But I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do it. And I literally filled out a form and then had a panic attack. And I was like, what did I just do? I've never finished any fitness program in my life. I was like, but okay, it's a free group. I can do this. And I honestly was so taken aback by it. I never expected to like it so much. I am not somebody that was a huge health and fitness person at all. My previous experience with health and fitness was my husband, who was in the Army, go to the gym with him and he'd try and get me to get on a treadmill. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Let me just go eat my fast food. I was was not my.
Okay. This is how you can tell that she's making this story up. Who is like, do you want to go to the gym? No, I just want to eat my fast food. What? Also, can we just keep in mind here? So she says she has no other experience with health and fitness other than eating fast food while her husband was at the gym. And so she's like, I'm going to be a health and fitness coach.
my wheelhouse. I did not grow up this way. So it was something so new for me, taking care of myself, eating healthy. And I literally a weekend, my husband was like, whatever you were doing, just like, please don't stop. Like, you're happy, just keep doing this. And so I did. And that first picture is like my very first transformation, which was my coming out post. And I honestly fell in love with coaching and really just kind of dug into it. And
I'm sorry, I can't tell the difference between which one is the before and which is the after. Like I can't even tell. What is it, the left or the right? Like I don't know which one is the before and which is the after. I don't even know.
Had emerald in my first week and went diamond in 90 days. And I remember going to my first summit that July of 2016 and 2017, sorry, July of 2017, I think it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is exactly, like it was everything that I had thought it was going to be. And I was like, it just like propelled me. And I was so excited to build this business. And we came home and I found out I was pregnant with my third. And I was like, say what? This was not on our plan. It was never our plan, because I had a lot of trouble trying to have our two kids. I had a history of infertility and miscarriages. I had one before my daughter and two before my son. And I was like, if I have to go through that again, like we were just not in a place, like I could not physically or mentally go through that again. So having a third baby was like, oh my God, if we lose another baby, I could not take that on. It was already so hard for me to overcome that. And so by the time we found out I was pregnant and I went to the doctor, they were like, okay, well, it's already time for you to have like all your tests, like all the blood work and genetic testing and everything. And I was like, okay, well, that tells me if it's a boy or a girl, right? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. Because I'm a planner and I want to know, do I keep the girl clothes or the boy clothes? And so we had the genetic testing, and that rocked our world because we found out that my son would have Down syndrome. So not only were we having this third child that we were totally unprepared for, he would also have special needs. And to say that I was angry, I was sad, I was thinking about like what our life would be like, felt completely, I still don't feel like I'm prepared for this journey because it's hard. But at the time, I mean, there was a lot of anger, and I had just started this coaching journey, and I was like, like it's one thing I think as coaches too, like me, was like I had started kind of after I'd had a transformation and I had kind of overcome some of that postpartum. So it was like, okay, I was kind of talking about how in hindsight, I'd already lived through the hard and I wasn't sharing it as I was going through it. This would be a journey that I was like, I'm going to literally have to share all of this as I'm moving through it. And I was like, I can either hide from it,
So everything she said so far is fine. It sounds, I mean, that had to just be devastating. It's really sad. It's really unfortunate. I don't think that should ever happen to anybody. I can't imagine how hard that would be. I don't have kids now, and I don't ever plan on like adopting any. And I'm sure that had to be just the most devastating thing that someone could experience. But now I want you to remember the context we're in. We're in a Beachbody Zoom call, a team call. And the goal of this call, according to the mail upline from before, is to show people why they have no excuse. And as at the beginning of this call, I kind of saw her as more innocent, but when you listen to what she is saying, what she's actually saying and what she actually means, you start to get a little bit less sure of that.
Introvert in me wanted to run and retreat. I was like, where I could share his life and what this is going to be. And at the time, I just had no idea. I mean, in my mind, having a child with Down syndrome was not something I was prepared for, and it was really overwhelming. And then he decided to surprise us even more, and he was born at 25 weeks. the following January. So he was 1 pound, 4 ounce, and 12 inches long, and his diaper was smaller than a credit card. And that second picture is the first time I got to hold him. He was 3 weeks old. And so there was just a big part of me. It was like continuing on this business. My coach even said, it's like, Sarah, like you have an impossible situation. You don't need to be doing this. And I was like, no, please. Like it was always something that it wasn't like a burden. I use it as a blessing. Sorry, my brother keeps to like take my watch off. It was a burden, not a blessing. I mean, it was a blessing, not a burden. And I just had to, it was something that him being born so early just completely like turned our world upside down, having 2 kids at home and 1 in the hospital and trying to do the rat race of going back and forth. And we had all these impossible scenarios. And I just wanted to keep doing just a little bit of something that was for me, that would sustain me even in the hard. And we ultimately spent 182 days in the hospital. That's 7.5 months of his life, of our life, between the NICU and the PICU. And I just remember that second picture of me sitting next to his hospital bed when he was in the PICU, and I was watching Summit from my laptop. And there was Shanti was coming out with a new program, T20. And I was like, oh my God, this is like made for me. I need a redemption moment. The last 7 months have been hell. And it was like coaches can earn a spot in this group if you earn your, like, it was like going to be a competition for success goal points. And I was like, game on. Like, I need something to focus on. Give me something. Like, the most powerless place you can be is sitting in a chair next to your child in a hospital bed that you can't hold. You can't do anything. Like, nothing feels as powerless as that does. And I was like, give me something to control, because I needed a win. And so I really did that. He came home a few weeks later. I earned my highest SC ever at the time. It was 52 points. I was so freaking proud. And I went into 1-star qualification that same month whenever I got home. It was never about, for me at the time, it was never about like, of course, hitting the SC was like challenge track, but I really just focused on showing up always in whatever capacity that was. And I continued on and kept working, and I was so excited because I was like, my whole goal was to hit 1-star and go to NLC, right? Because that's the big thing. You want to go, have your hotel paid for, and then I was all set to go, and then my son got RSV and the flu, and we were back in the hospital. And so I kind of felt like it was like just one thing after the other. And then, I kept on keeping on. And my goal was like, okay, my corporate mentor, who's so sweet, she was like, okay, Sarah, she's like, you can do this again, hit 2-star, get your points. I'm going to talk to somebody. Because usually they don't give you a chance to go twice. It's one and done type of thing. And because of extenuating circumstances, she's like, if you can get this year, she's like, I'm totally going to make it possible for you to go. Mary is like amazing. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And so, picking up the pieces of the life and everything, because he came home with oxygen and a feeding tube, and he's still on CPAP. So we had thankful for my nursing background, because we had an ICU in our house happening. And so at home, I was like, I'm just going to keep doing this, just going to keep plugging along. And literally a week of 2-star qual left, my diamond quit, and literally canceled quit, not just quit, I'm not going to do it, shattered downline. And I'll never forget that moment. I mean, as much as I hated it, it taught me everything, because I'm always going to have a Hail Mary from here on out. That was my whole plan going into 5-star. I'm like, what's my backup plan? Because I need one, because you never know. I mean, I love my girls, but I also know that people are wild cards sometimes, and you just can't control what they're going to do. And so I was pissed, but also taught a massive teaching moment for me to always have a Hail Mary. And I picked up the pieces, and we did end, and I did get to go to NLC in January, and I did end the year 2-star premiering, picked up all those pieces last fall. But the pivotal moment for me, I think that ultimately landed, got us to 5-star and elite so early this year, was walking into NLC after everything, the culmination of all of these events and all these victors, was that I had climbed this mountain of not giving up on myself, of not giving up on this business and what this was. And it wasn't always about running my butt into the ground to do this. It was more about me trying to build a sustainable foundation of what this has provided and the community that it has given us, and just like so many things. And I walked in there and they're like, you can go sit at the front because Premier and Elite gets to go sit at the front. And I was like, hot damn, like I was so proud of myself, so freaking proud of myself, right? Like there was, I did this, and I remember I grabbed that Elite card and it's literally on my whiteboard over there, and I was like, this is happening. Like it just fueled me. Like the curtain had been pulled back. My son's health is better than it ever been, and I was like, I feel like I finally had the green light to just go. Like I've kind of been in this place a lot with this business, with his health. It's like, you know, when your child is sick, like you can only do what you can do, but my bare minimum was always showing up, and it wasn't, I was never going to give up on it. And so the thing about it is being vulnerable. If you've never read Brene Brown's Daring Greatly, vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when you have no control over the outcome. And for me, with my son, I never had a control. I still can't. How he eats, how hard he works at developing and walking and talking and sign language and all the things, all these avenues that I did not want to know about, but I know about and I'm learning about. And I leaned into what could I control. So how did I work through the hardships? I focused on being something to someone and not everything to everyone. And what did that mean? It was showing up no matter what. And in some capacity, like there was never a period on my social media, you can go back, that I went dark for more than probably 24 hours, if I'm being totally honest. And there was a lot of really scary moments of, are we going to get a call at 2 a.m. to go up to the hospital, and husband and I sleeping on cots on the side of the bed. Like there was, because of what we had built with this community, in that moment after he was born, I was lost, to be honest. I searched, like this is why hashtags are so important on Instagram. I was searching hashtag micro-preemie, hashtag 25-weeker. I did not know a single person that had had a preemie baby.
Searching hashtags for her community so that she can scam them into her pyramid scheme. Searching hashtags for her community for other people who have had premature babies to scam them into her pyramid scheme.
I did not know a single person that had had a child with Down syndrome or the combination, which is extremely rare. And I was like, please, God, somebody give me a success story. Like I needed to see a light at the end of the tunnel. I just needed somebody to show me that they were home with their child who had been in a situation like ours. And so it was like, okay, if I am looking for this, I know other people are going to be looking for this as well. And so I was like, okay, so what if I just keep doing what I've always been doing? And it's not perfect and it's messy. And you can see that picture, there's like crap all over our bedroom and medical equipment, but that is my life. And for women who are in my community, that and seeing a giraffe CPAP mask in the background is very relatable and real. And so it was just like, I just took what I was doing, and it was my therapy as much as like they needed it as much as I needed it type of scenario. And I always just led with what was real and authentic to me. I have a really hard time like the whole being fake, because I just built this so much about being authentic and true to me. And so if I'm having a crappy day, I would say I was having a crappy day. If I was having a great day, I would say I was having a great day. And the most amazing part about it is like the women in the community that was built for me having this platform and from being willing to put myself out there, like they are rooting for us no matter what. It was never honestly a thought in my mind to just disappear in these 3 years, because like now these women who literally I've met from Instagram, who our kids that I've never met in real life, but they're almost like sisters and family, because we have like such a unique connection, and these strangers turn to friends, turn to challengers, turn to coaches. Like it just
right there. See, at first When I first saw this, I thought, okay, there's no way she must be just talking about finding supportive friends or something. There's no way that she means recruiting them. Yeah, she does. Turn into friends, turn into challengers, turn into coaches. What the fuck? Would the owner of an ounce of dignity please contact mall security?
They started seeing what I was doing, and they in turn began to be curious. And then their friends were talking about it, and then they were talking about it, and it just became this community. And now it's like my groups, 75% of them are probably moms that have a kid that was in the hospital, or medical moms, or preemie moms, or something like that. And so it just created this massive layer of support that I needed, and it just in turn they needed as well. I learned that it was a really underserved community, and that something that a lot of people didn't talk about. And so I just wanted to be a light and a resource and a place of support. And again, like, it's not for me, I think I needed it so much that it just flowed out naturally. And so when I was thinking about like, what was I going to post and share, it was more like, what did I need to talk about and get off my chest? Like, what, because I knew if I was feeling this way, other people were feeling this way too. Like, I needed the connections, and the connections are what develop their relationships. And so leaning into my community, that was like, my challengers and the coaches were a source of positivity for me. And so it was never a negative, like, oh my God, I had that left to do today. It was like, oh my gosh, this is the only positive in my day right now, is seeing these women have a success and getting an email. Like, I'm telling you, like, it's nothing more powerful after having a crappy day, or like being up all night, or whatever our situation was at the time, and like getting an email of like someone thanking me for something, like fuel to my fire. Like, I'm going to keep doing this, because it is literally, sometimes you was the only positive in my day. Was
This makes me that is so sad. That Beachbody is the only positive in her day. Like, that makes me really sad. But at the same, I'm so conflicted on her, because I don't know. Sometimes she just seems brainwashed, but other times she seems very manipulative and like she knows exactly what she's doing.
Beachbody and the coaching and the community that it gave me. And for a long time, one of the things I did, I lost the fluff, and just like, I was super organized in terms of Google Streak, streamlining challenge group guides, buying them. Like, I didn't have a lot of time for all the extras and the fluff, and that was okay. My stories weren't super pretty. I mean, back then, all the fancy story slides weren't even really a thing. You'd write, or you just talk in your stories, and that's what I did. And so I don't necessarily think that sometimes it's like it has to be the prettiest picture and the best graphic and the best thing. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just show your face and say your truth and your story, because people want to hear what you have to say. Consistency. He also asked me to say, Jamie asked me like what I thought my biggest strength was. And I think consistency and just being vulnerable is that. I kept a service mindset in terms of like, what did I need was likely what they needed to. Built trust by being relatable and authentic. I tend to share and talk about the things that are not often talked about. Like my son's feeding struggles. Good God, I never knew that can of worms existed, but it does. Kids, special needs, and preemies have horrible times eating. And so like just the vulnerability of that, like there was a story one time, a post that did so well, and I was like so afraid to share it, because it was me losing my cool and my temper on my child, who we have sign language and that's about it right now. And it was like it can be such a frustrating and tireless situation. And I was just like, this is where I am right now. And so many people just wanted to give me hope in their story. And I was like, there was no cutting me down or saying, oh, you shouldn't have gotten frustrated with your child. It was like, I have been there, it's going to get better. And I'm like, this is what, like, thank God I have this. Like in my world where we live and like outside of Houston, I'm like, there is nobody in our immediate community that I've still been able to connect with that has a child that has issues or is living the life we're living. And I'm just like, if it wasn't for Instagram and me, and it sounds so crazy, but if it wasn't for this platform and the relationships, it's like.
finding that community and scamming them into your Beachbody pyramid scheme are two completely different things. You can find a community for support online or on any platform, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Reddit, without having to make money off of scamming them into your pyramid scheme. I want you to remember, when she's talking about these things, she's talking about how she uses them to manipulate people and get them to join and get them to become Beachbody coaches. That's what we are on a Beachbody Zoom call. That's what she's talking about. She just told us. And it's hard to believe that she can just be this brazen and nobody is like, what the fuck about this?
Seriously, almost my lifeline some days to feel a little bit of normalcy of these connections and conversations. And so I think the other thing is that I showed up when people expected me not to. I knew that if I wanted to be successful and I wanted coaches to be successful, I had to show them what was possible and show them that if this was my heart, almost some of the most imaginable situations, being in a hospital, being admitted, all these medical emergencies sometimes, things are a lot more calm now. But back then it wasn't. It was crazy chaos. And it was like, if I was still hitting Success Club, if I was still showing up in a challenge group, then what was they didn't have an excuse, and
I still was in Success Club despite all of this. What's their excuse? They don't have an excuse.
It was like, okay, well, if she's doing that, then I can do this. And I think, by sharing and being vulnerable and being real, it showed people, not only like challengers and coaches, but just people in the community that were watching me, that like to show up for themselves. Like, if I could do this and show up in my heart, they could show up in theirs. And it just inspired people, and not in like a condescending way, but in a way that gave them the power back to do this for themselves too. Because I think, especially in the niche that I'm in, moms fall in the last bit. Like, every ounce of their energy goes to their child and all of the medical complexities that can exist. And some of these women have had some really far worse traumas than I've endured. And it's like, if I can show them and give them a light and a little bit of positivity and make them feel just a little bit better, like, it gives so much purpose to all my pain. And I feel like now being able to show people that it does get better, and kind of like peeling the light back of like life 2 years after the NICU does get better. Like, it just, of all the shit we went through, I feel like it just gives so much purpose to our pain. And so I think this is one of my favorite quotes by Morgan Harper Nichols. It says, "Tell the story of the mountain you climb, your words become a page in someone else's survival guide." And it's literally on my on like my vision board for this year, because it's just, I always just thought that if I could help one person not feel the way I felt, and that was what I said whenever I signed up to coach, and it just continues to be the way of that. Like, this business and this opportunity has given us so much, like my family and my husband, I mean, just all of us. And I'm just, and like, far outside of, the income and just like the programs, because we all know those are amazing. It's like the community and the connection that came from me putting us on this platform and sharing about my son. Like, I literally wouldn't have like 90% of my friends if it wasn't for that. Like, so I say, I know it's scary, but there's so much power in it if you just allow yourself to just peel back.
Yeah. Well, what happens when things don't go the way that you expect them to go? What happens when Beachbody ends their distributor program? What happens when one of your downlines quits? You're going to lose that friend anyway. And it's going to be a lot harder in that kind of situation where you're relying on these people. You're not being vulnerable. You're being manipulative is what you're doing.
Like, be vulnerable. Like, there's so much power in vulnerability. Like, you will build so much trust and so much relationship.
There's power in being manipulative.
And so much you will create a layer of support that you never knew existed if you just allow yourself to have that vulnerability. So that's all I got. I hope that was what you wanted.
She's telling these people, I've said this 2 times already, we're on a Beachbody Zoom call. The purpose of this is to teach you how to grow their business. She's telling them to talk about difficult things in their life so that they can target other people who have been through similar things and use that to make money off of them and scam them into your pyramid scheme. There's no shame here. There's no shame here. Where is the shame? Oh my goodness. Just evil, toxic, manipulative.
Sorry, my computer's like stalling. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I mean, I almost started to cry the last 5 minutes because and that quote you put up, where did I write it? Man, that quote is like huge.
Is it though? I thought it was kind of trite, but whatever.
Holy cow. I know that's why I can see why that's your favorite quote. That is, I've never heard that quote before. Like, that is incredible.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. So much of this has been like as hard and unimaginable as it has been for a long time. Like I'm just so thankful. Like I was telling I'm just so thankful I never gave up when it was hard, and that I focused on the positives and the things that brought me joy, which was challenges.
Toxic positivity
To me are like the bread and butter. Like it is my favorite part of this. It's where I have cultivated like such a close, good community, women that have been coming back for literally like since I've started coaching. Like they have on the train and coaches themselves, and it's just like, I don't know, like I'm just so freaking thankful for it because it has changed my life so much and it's made such an impact. And I don't know where I would be, especially everything played out the way that it did if coaching had not come into my life when it did. I don't know if I would have had the confidence or the courage to just start sharing him and all this crazy crap like without it. You know, it gave me such confidence to share, and because I am such an introvert in real life.
Did it give you confidence to share it, or did it give you motivation to share it? Because I feel like this is you making up excuses because you deep down feel guilty about targeting people who have been through the same things as you, and you're trying to make money off of them by scamming them.
This is so not like, and it's just so ironic because people think the opposite because I just so effortlessly share in stories and on my page about things, but it's very therapeutic for me to write out posts. Like it's truly like part of my therapy. I mean, I'm having real therapy now, but like that therapy, like verbalizing all of it, such a release of like, because there's so much with this that it's like if you keep it all inside, you know, and so allowing it to have an outlet, I don't know. Beachbody just gave me the confidence to do that.
I think people, I don't know if I talk about this a lot, and maybe I don't word it as eloquently as you did, but it's like, there's this secret to this business. I really believe I always say there's no secret to this business. It's just hard work, but there actually probably is a secret to this business, including hard work, which you clearly the consistency piece of your story is like ringing in my ear over here, because you just effing showed up regardless of what was happening. You just kept showing up.
Have to show up for your job when stuff like that happens. You shouldn't have to show up no matter what. Okay? Maybe no matter what when we're talking about like everyday things, but not for that. You shouldn't have to. That's not okay. Just because you can show up doesn't mean you should, and doesn't mean you should ever feel pressured to show up in that situation. If someone is trying to tell you that you don't have an excuse, you have to show up no matter what, and they're talking about no matter what as in no matter if your newborn baby is in the hospital, your newborn baby weighs like 1 pound and is 12 inches long and is in the intensive care for 180 days. No, you don't have to show up. And if someone tells you that you have to show up, you should tell them, fuck you. Like, get the fuck out. No, that's ridiculous. That's insane. And I can't believe no one here thinks it's insane.
That's probably one of the hardest things for people to do, is just to keep showing up. But I think the magic here, and I've said this before, is that the magic of everything is being open and vulnerable to sharing your own story. Yet that is the part for coaches that just scares the living bejesus out of people. Like, that part of you opening up and sharing parts of your life, that it is so scary for you. And I get that part, how scary it is for you. But you guys, once you consciously understand that it's actually not about you, it's about the people that are listening to your vulnerability and message, and the impact that that's going to have on them. You being uncomfortable is like, you start to, that doesn't matter anymore how uncomfortable you are.
Can be, sometimes you just have to like take it like
about you. Your story actually isn't about you. It's about how you're going to impact the other person who needs to hear your story, guys. And the more open and vulnerable to sharing your own story, yet that is the part for coaches that just scares the living bejesus out of people. Like, that part of you opening up and sharing parts of your life, that it is so scary for you. And I get that part, how scary it is for you. But you guys, once you consciously understand that.
Do you see how he is pressuring people to overshare on social media? How nobody has just fucking left this call and quit immediately is beyond me. Don't ever let someone pressure you into sharing things that you are not comfortable sharing. You don't ever have to share details about your personal life for work. It's so surreal. I cannot imagine a situation where you would be pressured in a normal job into oversharing personal details and medical information like this. And it seems like nobody here is disturbed by this. What? It is manipulative. It is so beyond any measure of professional appropriateness. And I can't believe how none of these people have even the slightest sense that what they're doing could be wrong.
It's actually not about you. It's about the people that are listening to your vulnerability and message, and the impact that that's going to have on them. You being uncomfortable is like, you start to, that doesn't matter anymore how uncomfortable you are, because you're aware of the impact your story is having on other people. You have no time to worry about what people think about you being open and all that gets, it's like it's thrown out the window, because you're conscious of the fact of the impact that story is having on another human being.
Right.
I'm sorry. Your personal issues, your personal things that, that you've been through, I would like to disagree here. Those are about you. Those are about you, and the most important thing in whether you share those or not is, do you feel comfortable and do you feel like you should share it? Because if you don't, then that's a no.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, you're so scared of that, yet that's the key that unlocks this business. And it's not for the sale.
That's the key that unlocks this business.
It's not to get coaches to get you to diamond. It's to literally be able to like reach out and like affect another human being of what they're going through. But people miss that because we get caught up in our own head. It's an ego thing. We're like, oh, how am I going to share that about me? It's not effing about you. Your story actually isn't about you. It's about how you're going to impact the other person who needs to hear your story, guys. And the more authentic you can be and open, like what Sarah just shared tonight, you guys, this should resonate with you to levels that you have never actually thought about before. Because what she had to go and share with people was probably really, really hard. And she didn't have all the answers. She didn't know what she should share or not share. But like this call, guys, should really unlock your, like, I want to say soul, because this isn't about you sharing. It's about what you're going to do for other people. And your story needs to be heard by other people. That's what I want you to get out of this. Sorry, I'm rambling now, but like, it's just, Sarah, so powerful.
He is so slimy. It's making me actually shiver how manipulative he is.
So powerful, my gosh. Any questions, guys?
I was going to say that I think like what you were saying about how like not having the answers, I am literally living a life where there's like no rule. Like my son, he is riding the wave for like doctors being like, I've never seen that before, or I don't know. And you're like, all right, well, we'll just go. I don't know what and I think that's part of parenting in general. Who really knows what they're doing anyway? You just do the best you can every single day, right? This is probably amplified a little bit because sometimes it's a little more crazy and scary. But I think just going scared, going hard, not letting it stop you because you don't have the answers. Like you're never, especially for people, whatever their struggle is, you might not have all the answers. And I'm not saying I have all the answers for these people. I'm just simply saying this is what's helping me. This is what I'm doing. I don't know. This is a spoon I'm using to feed Sam today. I have no idea if it's going to work. It's going to be funny. We're going to try it. He's going to throw it at me. Like, I don't know, and there's a lot of also my husband and I, like the way we've survived this is humor. I mean, there's been a lot of real so hard, so much hard, but we also like have to find humor and just be quirky and funny. And so that's kind of how we've also, we deal with hard things is also through humor. So it's kind of a thing also on my page because people always can expect that my husband's gonna say something random or funny, and that's just how we deal with uncomfortable things sometimes, is because it's so, you can't be so serious. It's like as serious as all of our stuff can be. Sometimes you just have to like take it lighthearted and not take everything so seriously, because when we have so much that's serious, I need something to be funny. and not so dang serious,
This is why I go back and forth on her, but because she can seem genuine and like she's not got ulterior motives, but I don't see how someone who's not in on the goal, on the manipulation, could listen to that man speak and be willing to participate in this if they weren't totally okay with it.
I want to ask you a question that I'm going to put you on the spot, and I don't even know if like because I touched on it at the start of the call. So why was coaching so important to you through, like, what about it?
Initially, it was that I really needed something for myself. My mom raised me super independent, like kind of like never depend on a man type of personality, And so I went to nursing school and had my own job. And I always thought I would go back to nursing. I'm not doing that because I'm a nurse in my own house now. But and because of coaching, obviously. But it was like whenever I stopped that working, I had this void because I'm like Enneagram 2 helper type person. That is me. And I was like, I have this void of like, I love my children. This is what I always wanted. But I'm like, what am I going to be? Like, what else is there for me type of thing? And I just had this big void. And I didn't so feel it after my first as I felt it really after my second of like, I need something stimulating, adult, like something I need to be learning something, doing something. And so I just had this like pull of still wanting to help people. At the time, there was still a part of me that wanted to go back to nursing eventually. And I was like, this kind of crossed all the boxes. I could help other people. It gave me a community that I needed. It gave me some side money because at the time, again, I didn't necessarily start because I needed, like we had these big aspirations for this. It was like, I want to go to Target and I don't want to tell my husband what I'm spending money on. I don't want him to be like, you spent $200. Like, I just want to spend $200 because I was used to having income of my own. And while he's not really that person anyway, the independent part of me, like, just wants my own thing, like just wanted my own piece. And that was honestly a big driving factor for me continuing on, was like, it was so important for me to maintain this because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. I wanted it. Like you were saying, like what Kim achieved, she wanted it. You know what I mean? And this is kind of like with me, the beginning of this year, like I was like elite. When I came home from NLC, I was like, literally wrote the date down on my whiteboard of when summit qualification was. I was like, this is happening. Who's with me? And like just went live on my team page and just got really vulnerable and was like, I finally made it here to this place.
She needed to qualify for summit. And she said this, she just said it. So she went on the team page and got really vulnerable. Like, it's like the direct association of the tactic. She's like, oh, I need more coaches. Let me get vulnerable.
Which seemed like impossible in the last 2 years, but I'm here and I see it and it's so clear in front of me now. And I'm like, who wants to do this with me? Like, because elite is a team thing. It's not an I thing. I can't just create diamonds out of nothing. You can't get points from nothing. You need people doing the things. And it just like, I feel like I've always been a lot of an ambitious person. And I think like a lot of that had been tamed with Sam. And like I was only allowed to do so much. And now that he's healthier, I mean, there's always going to be things, but now that he's healthier and we're not in such a crazy phase, it was like foot on the gas type of moment for me of like, this is my moment. I don't know what else is going to happen this year, but I'm going to do it while I can do it. And that's, I also know he's just taught me the gift of life of like, there's no day that's guaranteed because as you know, with what you've been through, like tomorrow's not promised and I'm going to live what I want to live and I'm going to do and I'm going to do it while I can freaking do it. And I don't know, that's a long drawn out answer to your question.
That was good. Any?
I have a question.
All right. So the rest of the call is basically just wrapping it up. And it's pretty much winding down at this point. Honestly, this call, it is so unsettling. And I think what struck me the most was how you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, and then they just keep shattering any doubt. Like, I started off thinking, okay, surely she doesn't mean using it to get coaches. And holy shit, that's exactly what she means. She just said it. And the upline, he actually gave me the chills. He is bone chilling level of toxicity and manipulation, and it's so upsetting to see that going on and hear people talking like that, and nobody is speaking up. Nobody's leaving. What? Are you serious? That is by far the worst team call, or really of any video from an MLM I've ever seen. It really underscores the toxic positivity, the cult-like behavior, and why it is such a big deal to talk about these businesses and their business practices, because they seriously are able to mess with people's lives and to really screw with their sense of priorities and their sense of what's okay to do and what's not, because I'm sure that none of these people would have behaved this way before they were in Beachbody. It's a result of being in a situation where something is okay, or at least nobody calls it out, and so then you think it's okay, and it's, even though it's something you wouldn't have normally done, but it seems like it's okay within Beachbody, and so you start doing it yourself. It's so messed up. It's not just selling things. It's really not. That's not all it is. It's a whole level of behavior control. And it's not, it's not minor, like, unethical things. It's major sociopathic, manipulative behavior about your children, about other people, telling them that their grief doesn't matter, telling them that their struggles don't matter, that they're not an excuse, and pressuring people into sharing personal information, shaming them for not wanting to share private, personal, health, medical information. What is wrong with these people? Well, I know what's wrong with them. They're in Beachbody. That's the problem. It's really insane. You watch this call and you're just like, is there a gas leak in here? What the fuck? I feel like I gotta go out and smoke a cigarette or something. You don't smoke! You're fired. I've got nothing else to say. I'm speechless. I've been Mac. Peace out. Bye.